Hi everyone. Our next project involves color pencils, and in order for us to be successful in those color pencil projects, we really need to practice blending. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to create a ribbon that's shaded in order from light to dark, light to dark, light to dark, light to dark, and when you're done with it, this one is unfinished, but it should look something like this, where the blending is very smooth and the gradient is very soft, and you don't see any distinct lines between the coloring. Okay, so this is the goal. I'm going to show you how to do that. Now, some common mistakes I see when I teach students how to use color pencils is that oftentimes our instinct is to start with the lightest color. All right, just like you read left to right, the tendency is to want to color from light to dark, left to right, and so on and so forth, or top to bottom. Okay, but we're going to actually work in the reverse. We're going to start shading with the dark and work our way up to the light. That's going to make it actually a lot easier to have a nice smooth gradient. So first I'm going to pick out the colors I'm going to use. I have a set of 36 color pencils. You might have a bigger set or you might have a smaller set. If you have a set of 12, like let's say for example, I have like this maroon, let me pull it up. I have this maroon color for the area where it says very dark red. Maybe you don't have that, maybe you just have red. You can use something that's just a little bit darker with red that blends nicely with it. For example, if you don't have maroon, you can go from red to purple. That would work. Let me pull up a purple here. You can blend purple and red together for this area and you'll kind of get a color that looks like this when you layer them on top of each other. Okay, but if you have a large assortment like I do, it's best to find the in-between colors as opposed to jumping from a really light to a really dark and so on and so forth. All right, so I'm going to use the colors that I have. Do the best you can with what you have available to you. So here's my yellow. I actually have a lot of yellows and a lot of oranges. Let me see what would work the best. I'm going to pick the ones that I feel like would blend together the nicest. This one is like a really, really bright yellow. I feel like this would look good with the orange. So I think I'll use these instead of the super, super bright yellow. So yellow, orange, then I have a red, then I have a very dark red. So these are the colors I'm gonna start with. And here I have labeled it. They're not all labeled. Here you can see it just says light, medium, dark. You'll be able to pick whatever colors you want in this area. So if you wanna go from a light blue to a dark blue, that's fine. If you wanna use these same colors, that's fine. You can even do grayscale if you want, as long as you go from light to dark, and then same thing here, light to dark, light to dark. Okay, so start with your darkest color. And I'm gonna start right here in the corner. What I want you to notice are my hand movements as I'm shading. First of all, my hand is resting, the palm of my hand is resting on the table, okay? And I'm holding the pencil really down low here. And I'm not coloring like this. In elementary school, the teachers teach how to shade in this way, where you just go left to right, left to right. The thing is, it's really hard to control and stay inside the lines when you do these long strokes. It's a great way to teach how to control what your hand does and hand-eye coordination, but you guys are in middle school now and you're probably a lot better at hand-eye coordination than you were in elementary school. So we're going to move away from just shading left to right, and we're going to make our movements smaller and actually go, you can kind of like shade in ovals. And what that'll do, when you shade in a circular or oval motion and you overlap over and over and over again, it looks really soft, and it's a lot easier to stay inside the lines as opposed to these sort of messy edges from longer strokes. Okay, so we're gonna work on controlling our hand and layering. You're gonna control how hard you're pressing, the direction you're shading in, and also making sure that the motions are very small and tight. Okay, so here where it's very dark red, I'm gonna press harder because that's just gonna be the solid dark red. And as I get closer to where the red is supposed to be, I will lay off the pressure. I'm going to, this exercise is mostly basically for you to practice controlling what your hand does, practicing how much pressure you're applying. Okay, notice I'm doing small circular movements. Okay, and I'm no longer pressing super hard. I'm starting to go just a little bit lighter and a little bit lighter. And notice how, because I'm doing these little ovals and I'm overlapping, it looks, the transition looks really soft. I don't have any harsh lines. I'm gonna keep going lighter. Now be careful, you can't just stop here, because if I stop here and go to the next color, this line will show and it won't look smooth. So I'm gonna blend this maroon a little bit higher just to get the fading really, really soft. So I think something like this would be good. You can't see a harsh line where I finished with the dark red. Then I'm gonna move on to my next color, which is just a regular red, and I'm gonna color right on top of the maroon. Just shade right on top of it, all of it. Basically what's happening is this red is filling in any white spots that I didn't fill in with the dark red, but it's not actually covering it up. Notice how the corner here where I pressed really hard, it still looks like a dark red. It doesn't look like this really bright orangey red, okay? That's how color pencils work. You don't really, it's not like paint. You don't cover up the darker color, you just sort of fill in any spaces that it missed. In paint, you would cover it up completely, but color pencils don't work that way. Okay, so I filled this in really hard with a regular red color pencil, and I'm gonna keep going, small, sort of oval, circular motions, but I'm gonna start pressing a little bit lighter. Make sure the transition is really soft, lighter, and lighter. I'm not pressing very hard. I'm continuously going on top of the same area, but very lightly, so that I don't have any harsh lines. Everything looks really, really soft. That looks good. Next, I'm gonna move on to my next color, which is the orange. And same pattern, cover on top of everything you just did. Go right on top of it. So notice how this still looks dark and it's starting to look brighter over here. So I'm covering all of that up with the orange. And now again, lighter, less pressure, lighter and lighter. Now this one is the most important area where I need to really focus on getting it super, super smooth, because the yellow doesn't cover up anything. It's almost like a highlighter. So if there's any areas where I can see lines from the orange, it will show under the yellow. Yellow doesn't really do much for blending. So I have to make sure my orange is blended really well all on its own without any harsh lines. So I'm almost going completely to the line. Almost, not completely though, but really close. So that looks really soft. That's how you want that to look. There's no harsh line of the orange. Then I'm gonna take my yellow and go on top of everything I just did again. And the yellow is the last step, and I don't have to really worry about pressure here. I'm just pressing hard over everything because the yellow is not gonna cover up any of the dark colors. All it's doing is filling in any white spots that the other colors missed. So I'm literally going over this entire area with the yellow. So it's nice and bright, nice and smooth, and there's my gradient. So at this point, the paper is actually kind of shiny because I have so many layers on there. That's good, that's totally fine. All right, so the next step would be this section of the ribbon, and it's labeled as well: blue, dark green, green, lime green, yellow. So basically you're just going in order from dark to light. So I'm gonna pick out what I have. Do the best you can. Again, if you have a smaller set of color pencils, it's okay. Maybe you don't have 5, maybe you just have yellow, green, and like a dark blue. It's fine. You'll just have to make sure that when you blend them, you have a really smooth blend and no harsh lines in between. I happen to have a lot of in-between colors, so I'm gonna use them. All right, so I need a really dark blue. This is the darkest blue I have. It actually almost looks black, but it's blue. All right, don't pick like, you know, like this wouldn't make sense. You're supposed to go from dark to light. So use your darkest blue that you have, if you have it. Then I'm gonna go to green, like a dark green. Then I have a just regular green. It says lime green. Lime green is sort of like a yellowish green, just a really, really light green. And if you don't have the lime green, if your color pencil set is smaller, you can just skip this one and go from green to yellow. Your blending just has to be really smooth. All right, and then I'm gonna pick this yellow that looks like it would be a good transition. I have a bunch of other yellows, but like this one looks kind of orangey, and I don't think that would blend nicely with this one, so I'm gonna use my really bright yellow. Okay? Now, we're gonna repeat the same thing over again. Start in this corner, press hard. This is gonna be solid navy blue. As I get closer to where the dark green is supposed to be, I'm gonna start pressing a little bit lighter. I'm going a little bit faster this time, so you guys can see in real time how long this would take me. Circles, circles, always circles, so it looks nice and smooth. And I'm going lighter, lighter, lighter. And I'm just gonna fade this out so that I don't have any harsh lines. Then I'm gonna take my next dark color, which is the green, go right on top of the blue, and fill in any white spots that the blue didn't color in. It still looks blue. The green can't just cover it up, but it'll be a nice transition as I cover up the rest of this. So first I'm pressing hard just to fill in any gaps. And then I'm gonna gradually, once I've covered up the blue, I'm gonna start gradually laying off the pressure, pressing a little bit less, but a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. For shading like this, it's actually better if your color pencils are not sharpened all the way. If they're really, really sharp, you'll end up getting lines kind of like, you know, like you'll end up seeing your circular lines. Mine, they're kind of sharp, but they have like a dull edge that actually makes it easier for me to shade. Okay, so I gotta keep going, fade it out so that it doesn't have an abrupt edge like this. Take your time. So you are gonna get graded on this. I'm not too concerned about you finishing the ribbon as long as the quality is really good. So between today and tomorrow, if you don't finish this, but you really tried, it's good quality and your blending's good, you're still gonna get points. Okay, so don't worry too much about finishing, just worry about doing a good job. My next color, which is just a medium green, go on top of everything I just did, and so on and so forth. That is the pattern here, dark to light. So I'm just, right now, I'm not really worried about doing ovals right now because I'm literally just covering on top of what I already did. Once I get back here though, I'm gonna switch back to my circles. And I'm gonna go back to small little movements, not big movements, so that I can control it better and stay inside those lines. And I'm gonna fade this out. That looks pretty faded. And then I would do this color and then this color and so on and so forth until you get to the end. Remember, in this area, you can choose whatever colors you want. Just make sure you're still blending from dark to light, dark to light, dark to light. Okay, good luck.